had dreams of peace, you see, but his ways weren't free. Split the world in two, told lies that grew, promises he did break, decisions were a mistake, words are full of gall, watching nations fall. Not a fan of Woodrow, no love for his show. Led us to pain and woe, a history we all know. Talk of justice clear, but his actions smeared. Sold dreams unreal, made justice kneel, led with ego's pride. Many truths he would hide. Same old chant and cheer, revelations draw near. Not a fan of Woodrow, no love for his show. Led us to pain and woe, a history we all know. The story flows, Chris explores where history goes. Battles fought and empires rise through the lens where time flies. Ancient ruins, modern streets, every tale Chris repeats. From pyramids to revolutions, finding peace in solutions. Logging through the past we see history and mystery. Chris's world for you and me, travel deep in his story. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wars and crowns, the old king's reign, mystic lands and cities plain. Through the fog uncover truth, echoes loud from days of youth. Chronicles in every frame, legends told, none the same. Step by step we walk along, in his blogs where we belong. From stone tools to moonlit skies, in Chris's eyes the magic lies. Every click a journey new, with Chris the past is now in view. Wars and crowns, the old king's reign, mystic lands and cities plain. Chris's world for you and me, travel deep in his story.
All right, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Let's get to the stream, shall we? All right. I was having a little bit of fun with AI music just before we started. I really wasn't super crazy about either one of those, but I didn't have time to generate another one before we started. So I'll definitely be playing with the AI some more at some point. That was, it said right on it who it was. That's just, there's a couple of different sites I use. That particular one takes longer to generate the music than the other one. But it showed right on the screen what it was. So I just can't remember off the top of my head. Let me just look at my history and I can tell you. It's AI Tubo. It's AITUBO.ai is the website, and it does images, does all kinds of stuff. Excited for Civ 6. I'm assuming you mean Civ 7. And yes, I am, but I'm actually more excited about the competitor for it that comes out here in a couple of weeks. I think it's called Ara History Untold. A bunch of people just got access to it. Apparently, my gaming channel is not cool enough to be one of those people that got access to it, but pretty excited about that. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Good evening, Joe. Yes, I've actually had a really good week or so since my little ER visit a week and a half or week or so ago. I've actually been much more mindful of kind of self-care and my mental health, and I've started losing weight. I've got a competition going with my friend in Michigan, who we went on tour with in Germany and Austria. And I've actually lost 3.5 pounds in the last week. So I'm working on it. No Ipswich shirt today. Yeah. What's the score of that game? I saw they were playing. They lost on penalties to Wimbledon. Oh man. Interesting. So China has 7 days of visa-free policy now. Yeah, I'm definitely planning on doing a China tour. The question is when. Friday, the new Italy tour goes on sale for patrons and members. And it's got some new stuff to it compared to the last one that we did, like a guided tour of Castel Sant'Angelo, which will be fun. But I'm still waiting for the pricing back on the other tour that I'm going to be doing at the end of April, which is Berlin, Prague, Bratislava, and Vienna. And I'm excited about that one. So somebody asked a little bit ago, before I start getting into some of the questions and some of the comments, and we start doing the chat or the quiz. Somebody asked a little bit ago if I was planning to stream Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, I think I probably will at some point. I want to get a little bit of experience with the game first. I don't want to be a complete noob when I start streaming it. And that'll definitely be on the gaming channel when I do it. So I think maybe as soon as early next week. I was thinking about doing it this weekend. But my son's having a sleepover for his birthday. Tomorrow's my youngest son's 12th birthday, Eli. So I'm going to be getting ready for that birthday party because I'm hosting at my house a bunch of like 12-year-old boys for a sleepover for Eli's birthday. So, I'll probably be preparing for that. Yeah. So Mr. Terry asked if I could exempt him from the 30-second slow chat. So that's why I made him a mod. So Professor What put him to work. But yeah, so and actually, as soon as this stream's over, I'm going to be going for a walk. That's part of my exercise, being healthy. My next travel is coming up in exactly 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today, I will be in New York waiting to board my flight to London, where I'm going to be seeing a few of my friends going to be on a tour with a bunch of the guys from Masters of the Air, the entire crew of Rosie's Riveters. We're going to be on a tour in East Anglia. We're going to be based in Cambridge and touring all the sites associated with the 8th Air Force. So let's do a couple of super chats real quick. And so there's Admiral History. Yeah, Red Dead videos, I think, probably coming up. And then I'm going to pull up the first quiz we're going to do here. Ricky Tiki Bobby Wobbin, babe, get me my Vaseline and a banana. I really don't want to know what you're doing with that banana, so please just keep that to yourself. Puka, yes, 6 months till Egypt. Man, I am so excited about that trip. The cool thing is there's some new people coming, but there's also some people I haven't met yet. So I've got some friends who live here in Northeast Ohio. My friend Ryan, who's going to that one. along with his girlfriend, I don't know, and then his parents, and then a bunch of people from our previous tours that are going. So, and my friend Sander from Sander VK History is going to be my roommate for that tour. So I'm really excited about Egypt, but I'm excited about all the travel. I got a ton of travel coming up. Starting in November, it's going to get pretty busy. So maybe check out countries in World War II quiz. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, pretty much the whole world was in World War II, even if we don't hear much about it. Have I seen the EU5 dev notes? I have not. But, the funny thing is I love Europa Universalis, and I've played all of them, but I've never really gotten into that as much as I've gotten into like Crusader Kings and Hearts of Iron. I was actually playing Hearts of Iron this morning. I'm trying out Australia for the first time, and it's in spring 1939, so war's about to go down. So I don't know how that's going to go, but how do you make a request for a video reaction? I read every single comment on every video, so the easiest thing to do would be to just comment on a video with your request. Don't post the link. Just tell me what it's called, because if you post the link, it'll get filtered out, and I'll have to go in and approve it, so it won't show up right away. But that's the best way. All right, we'll do a couple more super chats, then we're going to start the first quiz, which is one that should be pretty easy for me. And Joe will probably have some comment to make. Joe and John will have a comment to make about the one we're going to do. Trish finally made it to a stream. Good morning from Wagga Wagga, Australia. Man, I can't wait to get to that side of the world. I want to go to New Zealand and Australia big time, and I definitely will at some point. Connor, I appreciate that, and you'll understand if I don't read the rest of what you put in your super chat. How many vampires do I think Abe Lincoln killed? I mean, I saw the movie. It was quite a few. For it being kind of weird, Abe Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, actually was a really good movie. I enjoyed that movie a lot. And then the author of the book that movie's based on wrote another one, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I need to check that out at some point. So, best past president to run current day America, Abraham Lincoln. Give me Abraham Lincoln. He will sort this mess out. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Let me go back to the live so I can see the chat here. So here we go. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do one that I know should be fairly easy for me, and the reason I was laughing about this, and I mentioned Joe and John who were in the chat because they were with us in Italy. Were we in Casino? I think it was Vashek's here too. We were in Casino, and it was like, I don't know, 11 p.m., something like that. And I don't remember what the drink was, but it was some drink that was like a ridiculously high proof, but it didn't taste that strong. And several of us had one. And then I was kind of feeling buzzed after that. And so they asked me to do, I think I did all the kings of England starting in 1066. And then I think I did the presidents backwards, is how that went. So, VTH After Dark. Yeah, the other thing was that was the night that I had a hoodie on, and I guess I was feeling good, so I put the hood up. It was like midnight. We're walking through the streets of Casino, Italy. Right, you could see Monte Cassino right up at the top there where the battle was fought, and somebody gave me their like aviator sunglasses, and so I looked like the Unabomber, and I ended up climbing. I think, was it a Sherman tank? I think it was a Sherman tank that we climbed in the center of town. Joe says it was whiskey, though I can't remember what. It was 108 proof. There you go. So it was half alcohol. So, all right. So let's go ahead and do these. We'll start with William the Conqueror. I guess hit start quiz first, right? I only get 6 minutes. No, that's not going to fly. We're going to do untimed because I'm going to be chatting. So this is William the First. Then we get William the Second. Then we get Henry the First. Oh, I only have to type in the names. So please say you got pictures of that. Yeah, I believe there is a picture on my Instagram of the of me on top of the tank. Pretty sure. Pretty sure it was. All right, so let's do a few more, and then I'll get back to the super chats here. All right, so Henry I. So this is Henry II, right? This is the first Plantagenet king. I think that's where we're at. No, it's not. It's 1135. Oh, Stephen. And that's when Matilda, and so then Matilda marries Geoffrey Plantagenet. Then their son is Henry II. And then we have Richard the Lionheart. And then we have John, the only John. There hasn't been one since. John's son rules for a long, long time. That's Henry III. Henry III is followed by Longshanks, Edward I, followed by Edward II, followed by one of my favorites, Edward III, followed by his grandson, Richard II. And that's when we get the usurper, Henry Bolingbroke, who sets the stages for the Wars of the Roses. I'll go ahead and finish this column. Henry V. And that's when there could have been a real turning point, right? Because Henry V basically wins the 100 Years of War, kind of, because it all falls apart right after. He dies of illness. His infant son, Henry VI, takes the throne, is also the heir to the crown of France. And had Henry V lived, England and France probably stay united under one crown, at least for a while. So, all right. So Vashik says 22 days till the UK, 149 till Belgium, and 188 till Egypt. What you're telling me is you and I are going to be spending a lot of time together. I think that's what you're telling me. So thanks for the warning. Now, hope this stream is fun. Tommy, get out of here, Tommy. When to expect Alexander series reaction from Kings and I haven't done Kings and Generals for a while. You're right. We need to get back to some of that. You should randomize the quizzes. They have some really good ones that'll make you think. Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions about particular quizzes that I do on here, because I don't know what all they have. So pick 2 Civil War generals to back you up in a bar fight. Oh, yeah. Give me Grant, because Grant was hardcore, and they said he perpetually had to look like he was going to put his head through a brick wall. So I'll take a guy like that. Plus, I know he'd be loyal to me. And then, I have to pick one from the Confederate side. Wow, I'd have to think about that a little bit. Give me Forrest, Nathan Bedford Forrest. I feel like he'd do anything to win, and sometimes you need that. All right, let me catch up on a couple more chats, and we'll do the next row here. Greetings from Denver. Happy early birthday to Eli. What are my thoughts about the apparent suppression of promotion surrounding? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. Is that true? I mean, I've been seeing advertisements for it. I don't know. I guess everybody always thinks their stuff's being suppressed, but I suppose it's possible. All right, next row. So now we're on to Henry VI, who had some mental health issues, let's say. And then he is, I mean, it kind of goes back and forth a little bit between Henry VI and Edward IV, who is the Yorkist claimant to the throne and really has a stronger claim to the throne than Henry VI does. Henry VI is only because his grandfather claimed it by right of conquest. So then we have 1483. This would be Edward V, who's one of the princes in the Tower, who kind of disappears. His uncle Richard III usurps the throne with the help of Parliament. He's followed by Henry Tudor, Henry VII, who's followed by Henry VIII, who's followed by his son Edward VI, followed by, I mean, you could argue that Jane, Lady Jane Grey in there briefly, but it's Mary, along with her husband Philip of Spain. Then Queen Elizabeth I. Then we've got, it goes over then to Henry VIII's sister's great-grandson, King James I of Scotland, who is, or James I of England, who's James VI of Scotland, followed by his son Charles, who lost his head. Commonwealth, that's when you get Oliver Cromwell, and then you get a restoration of the monarchy under Charles II, followed by his brother, James II. And then we'll stop right there before we do the last row. This is a pretty easy one. I needed something easy I could warm up with. Why do I know every English king? I mean, at least back to 1066. It gets a little fuzzy for me before that. But British monarchy is just something I've always been really, really interested in. And so it's just one of those things that I memorized a long, long time ago. I'm working on Roman emperors now. I got to get back to memorizing those. I was pretty good up for the first like 15 of them, but then it's been a while since I worked on it. Oh heck, none of the kings spoke English back then. They all spoke French. French was the language of the court until you get to, Edward III is really where you start to see English start to creep in. But I think it's Henry IV who allows English at the court for the first time. All right, let's see where we're at. Longtime fan of the channel. What are your thoughts on doing sports history reaction videos? I could certainly do some of that. Boiler up. Hope we upset your Ohio State. I hope not, but anything's possible with Ryan Day as our coach. Laser pig. I haven't actually done any laser pig videos yet, I don't think. That's something I should do. And you notice I'm drinking water too. I'm trying to drink more water and less of this stuff. Trying to take a little better care of myself that way too. Is there going to be a cap on how many people can go together? Absolutely not, Ethan. The only issue is it's not cheap. And I tried to make it as cheap as possible, but it's still going to be like $3,200 a person. It's just the realities of travel, especially once you get into when the nice weather is. And in April, the weather's really nice in April or in Italy, and doing the group stuff where you're paying for, the hotels and your coach for travel and all that stuff. Thankfully the other tour, the one that we're doing in Germany, Czechia, and Vasek, even if you don't go on the tour with us, you better at least come follow us around as we go. So you certainly could. I mean, there's nothing to keep you from doing that because I think we're doing mostly all public transportation for that tour. So Germany, Czechia, Slovakia, and Austria should be, I'm hoping it's going to be more in the $2,000 to $2,200 a person range, and it's a little longer than the other tour. So, but I try to keep those things as inexpensive as I possibly can. That's why I'm actually for that other tour, I'm organizing it myself. I'm paying the deposit on it myself because I wanted to make it cheaper by not going through a third party. As a Christian, you got to visit Georgia and Armenia. Yeah, I would very much like to do that at some point. I also want to go to Turkey. Would you ever react to Jib Jab's year in review videos? Interesting. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on Jib Jab's website, but I used to make videos on there. It was fun. Monarchy is greater than democracy. I agree. I'm all about constitutional monarchies. How can you contact me personally? The best thing to do is to, if you're a patron, send me a message on Patreon. Otherwise, send me an email, vloggingthroughhistory@gmail.com. Can't guarantee I'll respond right away. I get a ton of emails, but that's honestly about the best way I can think of to do it. So, all right, let's finish this off. 1689 to 1702. So this is the joint reign of William and Mary, but I'm guessing they're going to have William III. Oh yeah, William III, Mary II. They were cousins, and the only time that you have like joint rulers that are both the actual reigning monarchs rather than just like the consort. Okay, so this is Queen Anne. And now we are back to Germans now. So we've got the Hanoverian dynasty. So Georg I, who didn't speak a lick of English, and he's actually buried in Hanover in Germany. George II, his first language was German, but he did speak some English. And the fact that George I spoke German is why we ended up with Walpole, and by extension ended up with prime ministers in the UK. So George II's son is Frederick, the Prince of Wales, but he dies before his father. And so Frederick's son becomes George III, who's on the throne for 60 years. He's followed by his son, George IV, who also was Prince Regent during the madness of his father. had no legitimate children to succeed him. So he was succeeded by his brother, William IV, who also had no legitimate children to succeed him, which then passed the throne to George and William's niece, Alexandrina Victoria, who reigned as Queen Victoria, followed by her son, Edward VII, who incidentally had an affair with a woman named Alice Keppel, who is the great-grandmother of Queen Camilla. So the great-great-grandfather of King Charles and the great-grandmother of Queen Camilla had an affair. Anyway, George V, Edward VIII, who abdicates in December for his brother, who was awesome, George VI, Elizabeth II, Charles III, and then I guess we'll probably get William V, and then George VII, most likely. So if you guys have suggestions for a quiz you'd like me to do next, JD in the house, need to plan a group trip around We Have Ways Fest next year. I like the idea, especially because of the jealousy that I'm feeling right now. If you guys haven't seen JD's video, he's over there hanging out with James Holland. So when I was at D-Day here in Ohio at Conneaut, I posted a picture of me standing in this small crowd of about 20 people who were listening to James Holland speak, which was ridiculous that only 20 people were listening to that. And JD was telling me he was jealous. Well, I didn't get to meet James Holland, so JD just one-upped me by posting a video of him talking to James Holland on his channel. And then, of course, our friend Leighton was in that video, and Paul Reed, who I haven't met in person yet, but I've talked to, and just is an awesome guy, and I know I will meet at some point. So yeah, I definitely want to go to We Have Ways. That would be a blast for all of our European friends and we Americans to all link up together for We Have Ways. So, all right, let's do a few more of these, and then I'll get a suggestion for the next one to do. Opinion on Assassin's Creed video game series. I haven't played any since the one that was set like in Florence, which was a lot of fun. But I will say this, I think a lot of people have learned some interesting history from that. I talked to a lot of people who only know about Florence. Like when we were walking around Florence during our Italy trip in April, I had like 5 people in our tour group that like recognized all these buildings because they had climbed them in Assassin's Creed. So for that alone, it is really pretty cool. After that Marshall video, you watch parts of Waterloo again. I need to watch it again. I agree, that actor who plays Ney, like the second you see him, you're like, that's Ney. I mean, he looks just like him. Ney is probably 3rd or 4th for me. I haven't really sat down to do an exact order in my head of where I would think they would be. Recommend the user Maxibon. He has a quiz on every major battle in the U.S. Okay, I like it. I like it. So can I search by user? Maybe I just have to do it by I don't know how. Actually, though, you know what? That showed me this one, so now we might do this one first. All right, we're going to have to do this one. What the heck is this? Name all the present-day countries and cities with at least 100,000 and have. Nah, that's too complicated. All right, a couple more super chats, and then we'll figure out how to do this. What role would I have wanted in a royal court? Well, it wouldn't have been groom of the stool, I can tell you that. Incidentally, so I'm going in a couple of weeks to record for the History Channel. I'm doing I've already done 4 episodes for an upcoming season of a TV show that's going to air starting in November. I can't tell you more than that until they start advertising for the show. Once they start advertising, then I can talk about it. But they called me, well, they emailed me a couple of weeks ago, and asked me to come back to do 4 more episodes of this same show. And one of the episodes we talked about like weird jobs in history. And one of the things we talk about in that episode is the groom of the stool. So yes, I get to talk about the groom of the stool, including Henry VIII's groom of the stool. So I wouldn't want that role. I don't know. I'd be okay with like being a musician. You know, I'd grab my guitar and do some songs that hopefully entertain the monarch a little bit. If Woodrow Wilson and Andrew Johnson were reincarnated and knocked on your door, would you let them in and talk or use my Second Amendment right? Well, I'm not one to just shoot people, so I would let them in and talk. I would absolutely be interested in talking to them. Creekspiel, yes, I did look it up, the ghost. So that's the one, a couple people suggested a few different ones. That's the one that was actually used by the Prussians, right? That they used to kind of like to do actual wargaming. If I thought about doing a reaction to the music of Johnny Horton, no, but I didn't know he had a song called Sink to Bismarck. I'm only familiar with Battle of New Orleans. Mike Duncan's History of Rome podcast. No, I'm still doing all of Dan Carlin's stuff, and I want to get into an Egypt podcast that somebody recommended to me in the last stream. But yeah, I'll check that out. Claudius, I have read, but it's been a long time. Okay. So let me go back to the regular chat here. Look for a War of the Roses quiz. Let's see if there is one. So here's Wars of the United States. I wonder, or no, that's not battles though. Famous battles on a map, 100 battles of important battles of history. Battles in the U.S. Civil War, U.S. military battles picture quiz. All right, this one looks kind of interesting. All right, we're going to do this one first. All right. I'm going to turn off the time on it. So this one actually just has like, it's probably just going to, like when I type one in, but we'll try to go through these one at a time. So we can do it that way. Let me do this. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's see how quickly I can do these. So April 2nd, it wasn't April 2nd, 1861. It was later than that. It was the 14th, I think. So that's Fort Sumter. July 21st, 1861 is the Battle of Bull Run. February 11th, 1862, that's Fort Donelson. Monitor and the Merrimack do battle, that's Hampton Roads. April 6th and 7th is Shiloh. April 17th is Antietam. December 13th, that is Fredericksburg. I'm not even reading these. I'm just looking at the dates. April 30th to May 6th is Chancellorsville. July 1st through 3rd, Gettysburg. July 4th, that's Vicksburg. July 18th, 1863, that is either Fort or Battery Wagner. September 19th is Chickamauga. November 25th, 1863, an attack made by mistake. Yeah, absolutely made by mistake. That is Chattanooga. Or is that going to be Missionary Ridge? No, yeah, Missionary Ridge. They were just supposed to like take the first level of the attack and they end up sweeping over the ridge. It was amazing. I need to get there and do battles on that, but it's basically like all a housing area now. May 31st, June 12th, Lee's final victory over Grant in direct combat. That is Cold Harbor. August 2nd through 23rd, 1864, that is Mobile. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Petersburg. And Appomattox Courthouse. All right, cool. That was fun. So literally like the day I come home from Italy, from this Italy tour that we're about to announce, that's going to go live for patrons and members on Friday, I'm coming home and I'm going straight to Appomattox for the 160th anniversary of the Appomattox Courthouse surrender, which I've never been there before. So that'll be my first time there. Will you ever talk about the U.S. 21st century wars? Eventually, yes. Probably too hot button an issue right now. But yeah, at some point I will definitely talk about those. What is your take on the resistance movements in occupied European countries during World War II? Some of the missions and their day-to-day life during occupation? Absolutely. I mean, the French resistance, the Dutch resistance, the Polish resistance, the Czechs with Operation Anthropoid, with what they did to take out the architect of the final solution. Really, really cool stories that definitely need to be talked about more. There's so many aspects of World War II that don't get talked about nearly enough, like the intelligence aspect and the partisan stuff, the undergrounds, and all of that stuff is really, really cool stuff. Going to Blue Licks, Kentucky this weekend, August of 1782. I have an ancestor who was killed there. He was an officer. You'll see his name. There's a mass grave where all of the Americans militia, the American militia who died there, including one of Daniel Boone's sons. I think it was it Israel Boone was killed there. And they're in a mass grave, and then they have all the names on a monument, and you'll see James Felix McGuire, who was my sixth great grandfather on my dad's side, who died there. Have I read much into Norwegian history? Not nearly enough, but I will definitely start ramping that up when I plan a Scandinavian trip, which will be coming in the next, I would say, 2 years. Much of 19th century Norwegian political history fascinating. A lot of the discussions were inspired by American and French ideas. I'm not surprised by that, especially with the French, because the French really inspired a lot of countries in the 19th century in the aftermath of Napoleon. French Monarchy by Useful Charts. Yeah, that's one I haven't checked out yet. Battle Fought, and it appears third. Perfect. Let's do it. Every major battle fought in the United States on a map. There we go. Oh, okay. All right. This will be interesting. So let's pull it up. Warhawk be popular in the chat today. Yeah, we'll get to some more Warhawk at some point. But you saying it over and over and over again does not necessarily inspire me to want to do it more. I'm a really stubborn person, and it's a flaw. It's a character flaw. We all have character flaws. Thankfully, I kind of acknowledge some of mine. One of them is definitely that the more you tell me to do something, the less likely I am to do it. So my daughter's the same way, unfortunately. All right, so we have a key here. So American Revolution, red. Then we have the War of 1812, Texas Revolution, Mexican-American War, Civil War, other battles. So, okay, so American Revolution, we're going to have 3 in Massachusetts. There's more than 3 in Massachusetts. So, well, we know we have Bunker Hill. We know we have Lexington and Concord. And it is Concord, JD, not Concord. I just had to throw that in there. What else do we have in Massachusetts? Oh, right. So I know you guys are going to be helping me in the chat here. So let's see. Well, upstate New York, we're going to have Fort Ticonderoga. Oh, geez. I just screwed up something on my there we go. I got to go back over here. So we have Ticonderoga in upstate New York. What else do we have in Massachusetts that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head? This is interesting. So yeah, maybe it is just the Siege of Boston. Yeah, Siege of Boston. Okay. Ticonderoga. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. James. What did you do, man? Thank you. I really appreciate that. That is by far the biggest super chat I've ever had in my life. Oh my gosh. I'm grateful. I really am. Thank you. I don't know what else to say. Finally caught a stream live. I'm glad. And I've been trying to stream more. And actually, believe it or not, this is part of I've been talking a lot about my mental health the last week or so because it's something I'm trying to be much more mindful of. And having gone through the divorce and everything, and I talked briefly, and I don't want to delve too much into it, about, the adjustment, the new normal of only having my kids half the time. And tomorrow's my son's birthday, and I'm probably not going to see him because he's with mom. They actually literally just left this morning. My boys left for school, and then they go home back to mom's house. And then I took my daughter home a little while ago. So one of the reasons I'm streaming now is that I've found that the immediate aftermath after my kids go back to mom's house is one of those times that I find myself getting really down because the house is empty. And so you guys are part of my therapy to be doing streams. So I'm not trying to be woe is me. I'm just saying that's reality, and that's just something I'm trying to do to help with that. So thank you, James. I'm grateful. I really am. All right. So I might just skip around on some of these. Virginia, obviously, we're going to have there was a battle in Richmond. I don't know if that's what's going to be shown here. Oh, well, Richmond's probably showing up on one of the other ones. Maine. Yeah, so somebody mentioned Sackett's Harbor, which I think is going to be down way farther down here. Oh, yeah, we got a ton just of Revolutionary War ones on here, don't we? Let's look at the map a little bit. My goodness. Yeah, so hold on. Give me a second here, guys. I'm trying to get back up here. Sorry, I'm just navigating on my other screen for a second, and then I'll get back to the chat. Okay. Let's do this. Let's see. Where am I? Oops, didn't mean to click on that. Your high school was named after Daniel Boone, and your rival was named for Davy Crockett. That's awesome. I love it. I don't know how to get the comments back off. There we go. I did it. Okay. I'm just going to look at the map and try to type some in that way. I think we do have Blue Licks, Kentucky on there. I can see that one. Let's see how far down that is, because that's basically the last battle of the Revolution. Gosh, there's so many of these. This might be more than I really want to tackle in one video here. Because I could go all day just naming battles from the Civil War. I mean, Revolution, we're going to have Princeton. Yeah, I think I might abandon this one and do just like a video, like a dedicated video to this one, just because it's so long that I feel like we wouldn't even get through it in the rest of the time that we have, because there's 500 answer. But yeah, this is one I'll definitely maybe tackle for a totally separate video, where I'll just record on my own rather than during a live stream. I will say this. I want to mention one thing to you before I find another one of these to do, and we do a few more chats. Came up with kind of an interesting idea for an original video that we're going to do. And when my daughter and when my kids come back over on Friday, my daughter and I are going to do this. My daughter and I are going to have a little. Have you ever seen those videos where they get celebrities to insult each other, and then they record them just going back and forth insulting each other? So my daughter Rachel and I are going to do that, but we're going to use only insults from Shakespeare. Shakespeare has some of the most incredible insults you will ever read in your life. I mean, I don't think any are better than "Villain, I have done thy mother." But he has amazing insults. And we might throw in some insults from Thomas More and Martin Luther for good measure, because those two threw some pretty hardcore insults at each other. So that'll be a video that'll come up. Your English teacher has the book. There's a book of Shakespeare's insults. All right, maybe I just need to get the book. That'll have to be something that I do for sure. Okay, let me get to some more super chats, and then we'll find a simpler one of these to do. Vashek will definitely join you in Czechia. Of course you will. I would be incredibly disappointed if you didn't, because I've been talking about getting to Prague for a while now, and I'm finally going to do it. I'm excited, really excited. Are there any great presidents that, had you been alive during their campaigns, you may have actually voted against? That's a fantastic question. And it's hard to say. I mentioned this the other day because the party systems have changed so much. I probably would have voted against Franklin Roosevelt in 1940, 36 for that matter. Just because I'm not a big like government economic intervention kind of guy. And so his New Deal, probably something I would have opposed. I'm not saying that there weren't elements of it that were very helpful and beneficial and good, but just on principle, I probably would have opposed him on the New Deal. So that's probably the best example I can think of. Family Fantasy Football League. Member for 38 months. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Would love to know when the next trip to Boston is. Got a trip to Tennessee soon? Anything underrated to visit, check out? Kevin, it depends on what part of Tennessee you're going to. So if you're going to Nashville, definitely check out the Hermitage, which is Andrew Jackson's house and burial place. Check out some of the battlefields over around that area, like Stones River, Franklin. If you're going to be north of that area, up around like Fort Donelson, check that out. If you're further to the west, like over toward Memphis, then of course go to Graceland, go to the Shiloh battlefield, which is amazing. You can go down to Corinth from there. If you're further east, Chattanooga is incredible. You got the Medal of Honor Heritage Center there. You've got the Lookout Mountain and Missionary Ridge battlefields. You have the Chattanooga National Cemetery, which is where Desmond Doss is buried, where the Andrews Raiders are buried. The very first men to ever receive the Medal of Honor were Andrews Raiders, and a bunch of them are buried together. They were executed. And then just 20 miles down the road, you've got the Chickamauga battlefield. So that's a ton of stuff to go to in eastern Tennessee. All right, one more, and then let's pick another quiz to do. Invicta has a good video explaining the creation of Kriegspiel. You're creating a 12 by 8 foot map of northern Italy to play Napoleon's Italian campaign. That sounds amazing. And I think I mentioned that I'm hoping. So I looked at a house, because the house I'm living in right now, I'm renting. And I could buy a house that's bigger than the one I'm renting for less than what I'm paying to rent this one. But I'm trying to work out the financing and everything right now with the divorce and me giving half of my money to her and all that stuff. So it's complicated. If I can do it, and there's a house I've looked at, it's got a 3-car detached garage out back that would be perfect for giant wargaming maps, either miniatures or just board games, and it would be incredible. And I definitely would like to do something like that in a place like that. So let's find another quiz to do here. What's something? Let me go back to the chat and see what you guys are suggesting. Financing as a YouTuber sucks. They think you're a drug dealer. Yeah, I mean, because you're self-employed, and so it's much more complicated. They end up asking you for like several months of bank statements and all this kind of crazy stuff. All right. What was one that we were talking about earlier that would be good? Napoleon's Marshals. I wouldn't do very good on that one. I'm looking at some ideas here. This is just a World War I quiz. Okay. This one should be pretty easy. We'll see how you guys do on this one. Wait, when did I get divorced? I mentioned this in a live stream, a couple of live streams ago. But end of May, it was final, but we've been separated since like, I think the beginning of March of 2023. So like a year and a half, but it was finalized at the end of May. So I've been divorced for 3 months. And no, I'm not dating. All right. Name for Germany and its allies, the Central Powers. Major allies of Germany. You have the Ottomans. You have Austria-Hungary. And I guess the third one would be Bulgaria. Yeah. Archduke, whose assassination started the conflict, Franz Ferdinand. Interestingly, on the tour that I was mentioning earlier that we're going to do that ends in Vienna, one of the group things we're going to do as a group that will be included in that is the military museum in Vienna, which was amazing. Let me tell you, I mean, in addition to the car that Franz Ferdinand was in when he was shot, and you can see the bullet hole from the one of the two bullets that was fired, his uniform with the blood stain on it and the bullet hole in the neck, the couch he died on, all right there in a room. Oh my gosh, it was amazing seeing that stuff. But in addition to that, they've got a ton of Napoleonic War stuff, including some of the generals' uniforms. They've got flags that were captured from the Ottomans during the siege of Vienna in 1683. Oh my gosh, it was just an amazing, amazing museum. So that alone, that and the other museum in Vienna, and Vienna is an amazing city. It's awesome. The museum where you get to see the crown jewels of the Holy Roman Empire, all the regalia of the Holy Roman Empire, that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh, so cool. All right, that took place in Sarajevo. That's another place I want to get to. Treaty that officially ended the war against Germany, the Treaty of Versailles. We'll do the first row and then I'll do some more questions. Deadly battles on the Western Front in 1916. Verdun and the Somme. Both incredible battlefields. Amazing. So worth your time. German proposal for Mexico to invade the U.S. The Zimmermann telegram. Yellow-brown chemical weapon. That would be mustard gas. So there's phosgene gas, which is pretty nasty stuff. There's chlorine gas, which is like the green one. But what made mustard gas nasty, it wasn't the deadliest of the gases. I think that was probably phosgene gas. But mustard gas, didn't matter if you breathed it in. If it got on your clothes, if it touched your skin, it could do damage. So area between the trenches is no man's land, and named for November 11th, 1918. It depends on who you're talking to. In many countries, I mean, we're talking about Armistice Day, but many of them it's now Remembrance Day. But I'm guessing it's Armistice Day. Okay, we'll do the other side here in just a minute. Let's get caught up on some chats. Did Britain once have Florida? I believe they had parts of it. Favorite Egyptian pharaoh? That would have to be Amenhotep III. Big fan of Amenhotep III. Thank you for your amazing videos. I appreciate that, Ash. Been watching for a few years now, and every video is an absolute banger. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I say it all the time, and I will say it again. There is no vlogging through history without the community. I didn't know that when I started making videos, when I started the channel. Number one, I never in a million years thought it would grow the way it has. I never would have thought that I would have had 50,000 subscribers, let alone pushing 500,000. But I never a single day do I take it for granted. And as somebody who prays, one of my most common prayers is just a prayer of appreciation for this, for all of this. Yes, it's the way I make my living now, which is awesome. I've always wanted to be able to do what I love, but in the opportunities that it's afforded me, like the History Channel, and being able to speak at American Battlefield Trust events, and getting to be part of a forum at the 160th anniversary of Gettysburg, which is just ridiculous to me that ever would have happened. Hanging out with people like, just all my friends who are YouTubers, but also people like Martin Sheen and Gary Edelman. And it's all been just, a lot of YouTubers. I know my friend Paul Woodage talks about this, about what they call imposter syndrome, where you every so often you don't really believe that it's true, and you feel like you're impersonating someone, and at some point they're going to figure it out. So that happens, I think, to all of us. But by far the best part is the community. It's the interaction. It's getting to talk to a bunch of nerds like me who love history as much as I do, and having that outlet to be able to do that. And so you guys make that happen, and I really appreciate it. James, again, I'm just now getting to it in the list, but thank you so much. I really am so grateful for every one of you guys. Why do you think Longstreet never commanded a CSA army? He had to have been better than Bragg. Yeah, he was, but like it was in the Union, but to a lesser, or maybe in some ways to a greater degree. It's politics. It's politics. It's who you know. It's in Longstreet's case, I think a lot of it was probably Lee. Lee wanted Longstreet with him. Obviously, he got sent west for a while, but after he lost Jackson, and then especially after he lost Stewart, I don't think Lee wanted to lose Longstreet as an able kind of lieutenant, even though he did for a while with Longstreet's wounding in 1864. James meant to put $5 in. He's panicking now. I hope not. I hope that's not the case. If it is, James, let me know. Okay, let me go back to the live chat for a second. And Coda, I hope the dark days have gotten better for you. All right, let's do the second row here. Pandemic that started in 1918, Spanish flu, which is a terrible name because it didn't start in Spain. It started in North America. Widespread medical condition caused by damp feet. That's trench foot. And then World War II as well. Prime ministers of the UK. The first one was Asquith. So Asquith, you'll see a video coming soon. I'm almost done editing this one on Stories of the Great War, one of my side channels, where I visited some of the cemeteries on the Somme battlefield, and one of the graves I visited was the son of Prime Minister Asquith, who was killed at the Somme. Prime Minister's sons were not above being killed. Relatives of royalty, the brother of the future Queen Elizabeth, and I don't mean Queen Elizabeth II, I mean her mother, the Queen Mother, they called her, Queen Elizabeth. Her brother, Fergus Bowes-Lyon, was killed in World War I. So it absolutely happened. The other one, of course, is David Lloyd George, who I'm not a fan of. Really did a lot to undermine his own military, I think. Kaiser of Germany, Wilhelm II. Tsar of Russia is Nicholas II. Wilhelm and Nicholas were cousins, though not first cousins. Wilhelm was first cousins with King George V of England, and Nicholas's wife was their first cousin. They were all three grandchildren of Queen Victoria. President of the U.S. Yes, Willie and Nikki. That's right. Mr. Terry, Willie and Nikki. That's how they signed their letters to each other. They all knew each other really well. Prime Minister of France. Oh, give me a second. I know all the military leaders, but I'm trying to remember who the prime minister was. How do I forget this? Nouvel? No, Nouvel was a military guy. Give me a second. Lloyd George also sold peerages, so he was a crook. Yeah. Clemenceau. George Clemenceau. That's right. Another name for World War I, the Great War. That's usually what I call it. The war to end all wars. And one of the most poignant, so I say this all the time, but I love Commonwealth War Graves Commission cemetery. So we're talking the British, Canadians, Australians, New Zealand, South Africa, all of those countries, because the family could put messages on the bottom of the grave markers. And one of them I think it's in the Ramparts Cemetery in Ypres, Belgium. It says sacrificed to the fallacy. No, maybe that might be in Tyncott. I think it is in Tyncott. Sacrificed to the fallacy that war can end war. I think that one is in Tyncott now that I think about it. Unofficial ceasefire in late 1914, the Christmas truce. German airships, which bombed the UK. Zeppelins. They also did have Gotha bombers, though. They had airplanes that bombed the UK. Turkish peninsula, which Anzac troops tried to capture Gallipoli. All right, nice. American Nerd, great question. So let me explain it real quick. Your first cousin means that your parent and their parent are siblings. So my dad and your dad are brothers. That makes us first cousins. Second cousins means my grandpa and your grandpa are brothers. So it's a generation further down. Now, where you get the removed part is where one generation's further down than the other. So if you and I are first cousins, that means my dad and your dad or your mom, or my mom and your mom are siblings. Your child is my first cousin once removed, because we're first cousins, but then you go down one more step on one side. First cousin once removed. My child and your child are second cousins. My grandchild and your child are then second cousins once removed, and so on. So that's how you get it. James Bissonette, if you know, you know. I don't think I know. Your grandma is a McGuire. We could be related. I'm actually two different lines of McGuires. The McGuires are pretty prominent they were pretty prominent in the part of Kentucky where my McGuires lived, which is around Beattyville, Kentucky. They were really involved in like government. The Snowdens, which my dad's last name is Snowden, so technically my last name should be Snowden. 5 generations of my Snowden family came from the area around St. Helens in Lee County, Kentucky. And that's where the McGuire line ties in, is the mother of one of my Snowden ancestors was a McGuire. And so the McGuires and Snowdens were like sheriffs and representatives and postmasters in Lee County. You watched the Imitation Game last night. What do I think of Alan Turing? Brilliant guy. Terrible story of how he was treated. Sorry, I got to respond to a message about fantasy football, about our fantasy football draft on Tuesday. All right, there we go. Really just despicable how he was treated. A guy who really was a national hero and did so much, not only for science, but for the war effort. Can you react to the 7 deadly sins as U.S. presidents? Interesting. Who the first 20 U.S. presidents would vote for in 2020? I have no idea. And I think anybody who says they think they know how a president would vote today is lying, because I say it over and over again, things have changed so much that it's impossible to know. All right, let's do a couple more chats, and then we'll get back to some more quizzing here. Knowledge has a whole series on the American Civil War. Why have you only watched one video? Because I try to. Do you mean Knowledgia? I'm guessing. First of all, I didn't know it was a whole series. I just saw the new video when it popped up, and I reacted to it. But I do so much history, like Civil War stuff. I try to diversify. I don't want people to get fatigued talking about the same topics all the time. And honestly, I get tired of talking about the same topics all the time, even though there are certain topics I obviously know a lot more about. But Kyle, any plans to do anything related to the Princes in the Tower? Will it be solved as far as who did it? No. I think any chance of that is gone. But we do have the opportunity to prove whether or not the bones they found in the White Tower under the stairs that are buried at Westminster Abbey in that urn in the same chapel with Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Mary, we could find out for sure whether or not those are the bones of Edward and Richard. Just requires permission from the monarch. Whether we'll get it or not, I don't know. I feel like Charles would be okay with that, but maybe not. So I don't think it'll ever be solved who did it, but I think it could certainly be solved whether or not they were their bones, and then we could find out maybe about when they died. We could estimate that if they died right around that age at like 12 and 10, like we think they did. Have I dived into Pacifica history? Second Samoan civil. I didn't know Samoa had a civil war. Wow. Interesting. No, that's something I always take pictures of things to remember. That I want to remember later on. So, all right, one more chat, and then we'll get back to another quiz. Tanner, how's it going, my man? I'm doing well. I played Ultimate General Revolutionary War. Do I recommend it? I hope we get a chance to meet as well. I think we're probably related somehow. I can't remember if I ever looked that up or not, because again, I have Mullins in my family tree, a bunch of them. And Rich Mullins, one of my favorite singers, he's descended from that same family too. Yeah, I do recommend it. I haven't played it since the full release. I need to dive back into it. I want to try the British side too. I found it pretty difficult, but maybe now full release it gets a little easier. I don't know. All right, last one, then we'll get caught up. First off, sorry to say you missed part of the stream. That's okay. You can always watch later on. Second, other than Napoleon 2023, what is your least favorite historical movie? Uranus Das Boot. Really? I thought Das Boot was fantastic. I think sometimes we think that anything that doesn't show the people that we think were evil as evil is pro that other side. I didn't think it was propaganda, but I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinions on that stuff. Okay. Yeah, Tanner, you do look a little like J.J. McCulloch, whoever Robert said. That's true. That is definitely true. All right. Let's find another quiz to do here, shall we? Something maybe it'll be a little more challenging. What can we do that would be presidents that would be difficult? Because just naming the presidents wouldn't be difficult. Nah, those all look too easy. How about... So under that is downfall Nazi propaganda. Yeah, see, that's kind of how I feel. I think maybe that's what it is we are so used to World War II movies where Germans are, the evil enemy, that when we see anything that maybe even shows them as human, it's sometimes seen as like there can be a backlash to that feels like propaganda. Okay. U.S. presidents by birthplace. That actually would be that. Austin, I like that idea. Let's give it a try. I've been to some of these, and they're not in order, which I like. That makes it a little bit more of a challenge. Here we go. Let's dive into this. So, start quiz. Here we go. So the way it has it highlighted, I guess that's good. So Delaware, Ohio, that should be Hayes. Belgrove, Virginia. Is that William Henry Harrison? No. John Tyler? No. Wow. Okay. Because I know there's some born in Virginia that we don't think about. And some of these are sometimes like they're towns that are next to the town that everybody talks about. So like when I think of, like, is it Woodrow Wilson? No, because Woodrow Wilson was born in Stanton, Virginia, spelled like Staunton, but it's Stanton. Belgrove. Is that Monroe? Is it Madison? There we go. Plymouth, Vermont. That's got to be Calvin Coolidge. It's where he's buried too. Beautiful cemetery where he's buried. Point Pleasant, Ohio. That is Benjamin Harrison. It's not? I'm sure that's Benjamin Harrison. Who's buried? Hayes. What am I missing here? Oh, Grant was born in Point Pleasant. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. His father, he grew up in, I think, a town called Georgetown, which is right next to Point Pleasant. I was thinking of Georgetown. That's why. New York City, this has got to be Roosevelt. Theodore. Orange, Ohio. Harrison was born in South Bend, I think, or North Bend. Orange, that's not Harding, is it? He was born in Marion. Is it Garfield? Garfield, okay. Orange. See, I don't even know where Orange is. It's right outside of Cleveland, which is where Garfield's from. Mecklenburg, North Carolina, that is Polk. Westmoreland, Virginia, that might be Zachary Taylor. John Tyler? Who's born in Westmoreland, Virginia? Trying to think of who else was born in Virginia that I haven't already talked about. It's not Wilson. He's born in Stanton. Monroe? George Washington, James Monroe. Okay. Hope, Arkansas, that's Clinton. Only he wasn't a Clinton when he was born. He was William Jefferson Blythe III. I took his stepfather's name. His dad died in a car accident when he was really, really little. Might not have even been born yet. New Haven, Connecticut. That's got to be George W. Bush. He grew up in Texas, but he was born in New Haven. Scranton, Pennsylvania. That's Joe Biden. Locke Township, New York. Is that Trump? No. Who else was born in New York? The other Roosevelt? No. American nerd, in my defense, I was thinking of where Grant grew up, not where he was actually born, because he only lived there for like a year. Chester Arthur, yeah. No, Chester Arthur was born in Vermont, I think. Yeah, I think Chester Arthur was born in northern Vermont. It could be Millard Fillmore. Yep, that's who it is. Brookline, Massachusetts, that's Kennedy. It's right outside of Boston. Braintree, Massachusetts, that would be Adams. Both Adams. Yorba Linda, California, that's Richard Nixon. Cincinnati. None of them were born in oh wait, yeah, Taft was born in Cincinnati. Niles, Ohio, right up the road from me. 3 of my 4 grandparents went to Niles McKinley High School, as did my ex-wife. Jamaica, New York. And that's got to be. No, he was born up the river, Jamaica. Is that Van Buren? No. Who's born in Jamaica, New York? That's Trump. Yeah. Mercersburg, Pennsylvania. See, again, this is one, like, I think of Buchanan, who's the only other president born in Pennsylvania, as being from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, not Mercersburg. Here's Thomas Woodrow Wilson. Hardin County, Kentucky. That is Lincoln. Caldwell, New Jersey. That's got to be Stephen Grover, Cleveland. See, so this is where it gets interesting, because Woodrow Wilson, for example, he's born in Virginia. He grows up in, I think, Georgia and the Carolinas. But then he moves to New Jersey in college, and he's actually governor of New Jersey. He's president of Princeton University. And so a lot of people think of him as from New Jersey. Whereas then you have Grover Cleveland, who I think was governor of New York, but is from New Jersey. Abraham Lincoln's born in Kentucky, but is from Illinois. Greenway, Virginia. That's got to be Madison. No. Is that Tyler? Yep. Raleigh, North Carolina. I think that's Andrew Johnson. West Branch, Iowa's got to be Hoover. Honolulu, Hawaii is Obama. Hyde Park, New York. Now we're talking about Roosevelt. Fairfield, Vermont. This is Arthur. Milton, Massachusetts. This has got to be. Who else was born in Mass? Oh, that's got to be George H.W. Bush. Kinderhook, New York. That is old Kinderhook. That's Van Buren. Denison, Texas. I think that is Ike, who everybody thinks of as being from Kansas. His roots are in Pennsylvania. That's where all the Eisenhowers were from. Shadwell, Virginia. I don't know where Shadwell is. That's got to be. Now are we getting Madison? Now this has got to be Zachary Taylor. No. Was he born in North Carolina, maybe? What Virginia haven't I done yet? The other Harrison. No. Dang. People should only run in their birth state. There you go. I don't know where Shadwell, Virginia is. Jefferson? Yeah, Thomas Jefferson. North Bend, that is Benjamin Harrison. Blooming Grove, Ohio. I mean, I guess that's got to be Harding. Again, I think of him as being from Marion, Blooming Grove, I think is just a township right near Marion. Tampico, Illinois. Well, this has got to be Reagan, but again, I think of him as being born in Dixon, Illinois. No, it's not Reagan. There, we got to spell it right. Plains, Georgia. That's Jimmy Carter. He's going to make it to 100. Fingers crossed he makes it to 100. Barbersville, Virginia. Did we do Monroe yet? No, we did Monroe. Now we've got Zachary Taylor. Omaha, Nebraska. Who's from Omaha? Give me a second. I should. This is one I should absolutely know, and I'm drawing a blank for some Oh, this has got to be Harry Truman, right? No, he's born in Missouri. Omaha, Nebraska. Who am I missing? Gerald Ford. He was born in Nebraska. Berkeley. Did we do Madison? This has got to be William Henry Harrison. There we go. Hillsborough, North Carolina. That's Franklin Pierce. This is Harry Truman. Waxhaw, North Carolina, South Carolina, because we don't know for sure whether or not Andrew Jackson was born in North Carolina or South Carolina. And Johnson City, Texas is LBJ. All right. Took a little while on that one, but we got there. All right. Let's catch up on the chat. Where am I? Let's see. How old do you believe the Earth is? I do believe that at least mankind, 10,000 years at most. Does that mean that I don't believe the science that says that rocks are billions of years old and stuff like that? No, it doesn't mean I don't believe that. First of all, I believe the complexities of creation exist outside of time and space. So if God chose to speak the earth into existence over billions of years, and the days of creation are actually time periods that are longer than that, I'm fine with that. So I'm not doubting the age of the earth from the standpoint of when people say that rocks are billions of years old, they are. I do believe dinosaurs existed at the same time as human, at least some. And I believe that there may even be some out there. There's some interesting stories about that I won't get into today. Stories from, for example, the jungles of the Congo, where you have natives who speak of creatures that could only be described as dinosaurs as recently as 100 years ago in places. There's been stuff pulled out from the bottom of the ocean that seem like pleiadiosauruses and things like that, maybe. I don't know. It's not a topic I worry too much about, but I do find it very convenient that the timeline of the Bible and the creation of man lines up pretty perfectly with written history. So, but again, that's a matter of faith and not something that you're not going to see me on a stage debating an evolutionist over evolution and creation and the Big Bang and all that stuff like that, because honestly, it does not matter that much to me. And it doesn't change anything for me. So it's not like a hill to die on issue for me, I guess you would say. Okay. Hey, Chris, one of your Argentinian subs. Thank you, Mr. Axel Rose. Do I support the Guardians? I am a Guardians fan, yes. Got into baseball pretty recently. Support the Orioles. Hey, Orioles have been doing pretty good lately. Might come down to the Guardians and the Orioles with a spot in the World Series on the line. My Guards have faded as of late, but for a good bit of the season, they've had the best record in baseball. But I think we were done in when we lost our best pitcher at the beginning of the season. I'm honestly shocked that the Guardians have done as well as they have after losing Bieber. The history stuff. Thank you so much for those super chats. Really appreciate it. Columbus Crew champions with the Colombian touch. Yes, Cucho Hernandez is amazing. I love that guy. And let me tell you what, I've now been to a few games. I've been to 3 games in the UK. Granted, I haven't been to every stadium. I've been to Fulham to see them play at Craven Cottage. I've seen Wrexham play at their stadium. That was a sellout. And I saw West Brom, and that was an amazing experience. But nothing touches the experience of a Columbus Crew game in terms of the energy of the crowd. Amazing. And yeah, we're on a good run. We won the MLS Cup this year. We lost in the final on the road in Mexico of the Champions Cup. And now we're going to get another run at that. And then we just won the Leagues Cup this past weekend. It's an exciting time to be a Columbus soccer fan. Katie, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm getting caught up on the super chats here, guys. You agree that Vicksburg is the decisive campaign. Glad I could open your eyes to that. But you disagree that CSA was doomed to lose at that point. Certainly welcome to have your opinion on that. I honestly think that outside of European intervention, the Confederacy was doomed to lose regardless. As a pastor, do you consider Mormons as Christians? That's interesting. I would say that I think Mormons consider themselves Christians, but if I'm looking at like what are the things that to me are fundamental to my understanding of what it means to be a Christian, though I'm sure Mormons would disagree with this, I would have to say no. I think there are fundamental differences about the nature of Christ, about the nature of God, that for me would exclude Mormons from Orthodox Christianity, as I would call it. But I'm certainly welcome for someone to prove me wrong about that. Am I familiar with Spanish and French monarchs? Some. Mostly as they relate to other parts of history that I'm interested in. So Ferdinand and Isabella, for example, because of exploration. And then, of course, their connection to Henry VIII and, of course, Philip II of Spain and his connections to the Tudors. In France, obviously, people like King Francis, who famously wrestled Henry VIII, or Charles the Mad. So usually when they relate to other parts of history that I'm interested in, Louis XVI, Louis XIV, obviously. So not as much as I should be. FAH football history. You think they had some, albeit very few, chances to stop the dominoes from falling? What do you think? Yeah, I think it was highly unlikely without intervention from Europe. And that became increasingly unlikely as the war went on. Just watch The Imitation. Oh, yeah. Randall, somebody asked me that earlier. Maybe that was you. I already answered that. But brilliant guy who was treated terribly. Have I ever heard of the wreck of the Batavia? Happened in 1629 off the coast of Western Australia. No. That's interesting. Time to take another picture so that I can remember to read about that. I hope you didn't just send me down another rabbit hole that's going to consume my time. Okay, so yeah, American Nerd, I answered that one for you. Hello from Salisbury. So I haven't been to Salisbury, UK, but I've been to its German language counterpart, Salzburg, which is exactly the same word, just in German, in Austria, which is a cool town. What are my thoughts on the Netflix series World War II from the Front Line? Haven't watched that one yet. I've actually just been watching their series on Wyatt Earp. It's been interesting. Really cool. Well done. I've got some issues with some of their conclusions and some of their portrayals. But I did just pick up a book about that, and I'm probably going to be going out west. My mom lives in Tucson, which isn't far from Tombstone. So I'm going to probably plan a trip to go out and see her and then go over to Tombstone while I'm out there and do some videos for the channel. But no, I haven't seen that one yet. I'll have to check that out. I'm always looking for good stuff to binge watch. Right now, I'm going to get ready to binge watch Only Murders in the Building, which I've really gotten into. And I know a new season just came out, but I'm still on season 2. And it sounds like Ted Lasso's coming back. So I'm excited about that too. Was there as much chemical warfare in World War II as World War I? No, not really. And they were prepared for it, though. So like my ex-wife's grandfather, who was a ball turret gunner on a B-17 in World War II in the 8th Air Force, was also his unit chemical weapons specialist. So he was the guy who was responsible for their gas masks in case there was an attack on the base and they needed gas masks. So he had to kind of upkeep and train everybody on how to use those and those kinds of things. I don't know if I'm related to Edward Snowden or not, but yeah, I mean, I've got a father and 3 brothers who are all last name Snowden. So maybe he's a cousin somewhere along the line. Any tips on how to track my fiance's family history in Italy? Sicilian heritage. So there are good Sicilian records. I actually did a family tree project I was hired to do a couple years ago for a family that was very heavily in Sicily. And I actually found a ton of records. FamilySearch.org has a lot of free records available. A lot of them are in Italian, but there's a lot of great Sicilian records available that you could get into. Cyber Lucy, thank you for that. Charles has said it's that unlike his mother, he is willing to have the remains tested. Yeah, I thought he might be more willing for that, and I hope that he will follow through on that. So hopefully somebody does request that. I can't believe nobody has requested that so far. But yeah, he's the one that would have to ultimately give that permission. Adrian, thank you for that. Possible Scandinavian tour. You recommend 2 biographics videos as a start. King Haakon VII. Yeah, very cool. And take a picture of that so I don't forget. Yeah, I definitely want to get there. I don't know if it'd be like a group tour of just me doing some stuff on my own. But I definitely want to get there. I want to go finally meet in person our friend Indy Nidal and maybe the guys from Sabaton while I'm in Sweden. And then get over to Norway as well. Chris needs to turn in his Ohio card. Yeah. I do feel a little disappointed over that. Here, let me go back to. Why is it showing on the screen the full thing? That's really weird. Because it's showing on my screen that I'm only showing the big screen. So that's kind of strange. Okay. Let's see if I can fix that. I don't know if my thing is. Oh, my thing's just behind. That's why. I'm looking at my screen over here to see the preview of the stream, and I was like 30 minutes behind for some reason. So that's why. Raziel's Legacy, thank you. I found out your 10th great grandfather was Thomas Smith, governor of the East India Trading Company. That's really cool. So he would have been there with my ancestors, like Thomas Rolfe. Or John Rolfe, I'm sorry, and then their son was Thomas Rolfe, and of course Pocahontas, and my ancestor Ned Sizemore, who was a part of all of that. Pacific Northwest, yeah, Oregon Trail would be fun to do sometime. Been talking to my friend Sarah, who has the Instagram channel History Chick. Been talking to her about getting up there, and we can meet in person. She wants to show me some of her favorite historic sites up there, so I'm going to do that sometime. Tanner Mullins, I definitely need to get back to Texas. There's some cool places in Texas that I'd like to get to for sure. All right, let's get caught up. I'm not going to stream too much longer tonight, guys. So I do need to get some dinner, and I do need to go for my walk. And if you follow me on Instagram, I'll probably be posting my thoughts on my walk. It's a thing I do now as while I'm walking. I post some random thoughts about some topic. So I'm going to do that tonight. Proud alumni of James Buchanan High School. Is that in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Isaac? I'm curious. I'm going to get caught up with the super chats and then just do some other stuff in the chat real quick. Tampico is a tiny settlement near where you live. Dixon is a larger in the neighboring county. It's pretty cool since our area is extremely forgotten. Nice. Just watched your stream of the U.S. counties. Very impressive. Yeah, you know, a lot of those things are just educated guesses and using your general knowledge of history to deduce what would probably be a name for a county based on those things. Have I ever considered writing a campaign trail mod? It'd be fun, but in all my spare time, I don't think I'd have time for it. Right now I'm trying to manage my channels. I'm trying to get caught up on editing dozens of videos that I've shot but haven't edited yet. I'm trying to do more on VTH Extra. I'm trying to write a book. I got 3 kids. Life is busy, unfortunately. Shout out from Ipsy. Ever going to see Blackadder? I've seen most of the Blackadder episodes now. There's only a few I haven't seen. In Korea, the government reimburses candidates for their spending based on performance. Interesting. Instead, it caps how much money can be spent. I would love that. And I know in the UK, there's a lot of limits on that stuff, and there's limits on the amount of time you can campaign, which I think is great. Have you seen Come From Away? It's from my favorite musical, my 9/11 story. So I actually did a whole video on my 9/11 story. I think it was on the 20th anniversary. So if you search my channel for September 11th, I think it got age restricted because of the conversation topic, but I did my whole story about what I remember about that day. We looked at some videos and things like that. So rather than sum it up in 2 minutes, Nate, I'd rather just direct you to my video talking about my memories from 9/11. But no, I haven't seen Come From Away. Professor What, thank you for all you do. Listen, let's give it up for Professor What. He's often the only mod in the chat, and he also mods for Mr. Terry, and it's a lot to handle. And Professor What did reach out to me after the last stream and say, hey, what can we do to get some more mods? It's a lot, we need some help. So if you're interested in being a mod, I'm going to reach out to our patrons and members first about that. But email me and let me know if you'd be interested in modding. We could use a few more people to help moderate the chat, especially when we get some of the busier ones that have 1,000, 2,000 people in the live stream sometime. Any recommendations for movies dealing with the Eastern Front of either World War? I can't think of any off the top of my head for World War I, but obviously like Come and See is a great Eastern Front. World War I, Stalingrad, the movie Stalingrad's a good one for Eastern Front. World War II. Come and See is World War II as well. I'm sure other people could suggest some stuff in the chat. Was 08 winnable by McCain? Unlikely. It would have taken a perfect campaign. I feel like that was one of those elections that was inevitable, that Obama was going to win. Just about anything that McCain did wasn't going to help. What historical film performance do you believe should have been nominated for an Oscar? Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, 100%. 100%. Phenomenal performance, that one. That's the first one that comes to my mind off the top of my head that wasn't nominated for an Oscar. A couple more here. Your guess the request to test the bones may have been made, but not by people that Charles people feel were appropriate to do it. That's certainly possible. And it's funny how that stuff works like that. Thoughts on Perkin Warbeck claiming to be Richard? Nah, I don't think he was. It's compelling. Some of the evidence at least makes me go, interesting, but not enough for me to say, yeah, I think that's possible that he was the Richard the Duke of York, the younger of the princes in the Tower. It's a cool story, but nah, it's just conspiracy theory for me. Emperor Emerald, as a pastor, why don't Western Christians put an emphasis on pilgrimage as Eastern? I think location's part of it. Eastern Christians obviously are in the area where that's more feasible. First of all, to the places you would go to. It's a difference in connection to things like relics and saints and places, whereas Western Christianity is more separated from that stuff, I think, because so much of Western Christianity is coming out of the Protestant Reformation. And so there was a real break from a lot of those traditional elements of the church. And I'm not saying rightly or wrongly that those things were a break from those, but I think all of that has to do with why that happened. I played a lot of Crusader Kings 3. I've done some videos of Crusader Kings 3 on my channel, my gaming channel. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Definitely buy it, and there's some really cool mods for it too. I've sunk a ton of hours into that game. It's different, and there's definitely a learning curve, but it's a lot of fun. North Korea trip, unlikely. South Korea, maybe. I might venture across the border, but that'd be about it. Colton, thank you for that. And then Colton, Evansville, Indiana. I lived for a year in Gibson County in the little town of Owensville, which is right outside of Evansville, not far. So thank you for that. You got to meet Sam Elliott in person. He could be my grandpa, but I was like, OMG, that's really cool. Austin Butler should have won an Oscar for Elvis. Bruno Ganz as Hitler. Excellent. Yeah, I agree. He should have been nominated for sure. And yes, Val Kilmer was also great as Jim Morrison. Underrated role for sure. So, all right, guys. Chris is caught up with the super chats. What magic is this? Yes. Only for a minute, though, Weeping Scorpion, because we just got another one. American Nerd, thank you. If you do any reaction on video on VTH Extra, movie reviews from the Nostalgia Critic on channel Awesome. Okay. I'm going to take a picture of that so I don't forget it. Joey, yes. I keep saying I'm going to share that story on VTH Extra, and I haven't done it yet, and I need to. That will be one of the next videos on VTH Extra. We'll be sharing my Ouija board story. Some people are going to have a hard time believing it, but everything that I will say is 100% true, and it is by far the craziest thing that's ever happened in my life, because it was the first real, irrefutable evidence of the supernatural that I've ever experienced. It was absolutely insane. You despise Ragers, but their third kit is beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna get that one real soon. And I love this West Brom third kit. I'm a huge fan of the pink. That's why it's the first one that I got for this year was the West Brom kit. Did I miss your super chat, Adam? Let me check and see. Let me make sure that I didn't miss it. I'm scrolling back through the supers because it's certainly possible. I'm not beyond having missed a super chat. So I'm scrolling back very slowly. Oh, I did miss it, Adam. Thank you. Would you ever consider doing a video recommending the best sites to visit in Western Europe, World War I, World War II sites, and how to plan a trip? That's actually a really good idea. And I think maybe that might even be a video that I might do in conjunction with some of my friends, because I'm going to be in England in 3 weeks with some of my friends who have also visited a lot of those Western Europe sites. And maybe they can help and give some differing perspectives on that. So yeah, so that's definitely something we could do. Absolutely. So, okay. I'm going to wrap this up, guys. I got to go do my walk and eat some dinner. So thank you again for everybody who joined, for the super chats, for all of the non-super chats. Eldon, yeah, absolutely. I will let you guys know. I mean, I'm going to be there on the 9th for the 160th of Appomattox. So that would be the day. I'm going to be there all day. So meet me. Appomattox is a small place. I was not, in fact, a champion cheese roller. I'm not a big fan of cheese, but Mr. Terry, you and I need to talk later. I'm going to text you later on because I want to follow up about the stuff you emailed me about. So we'll do that. So take care, everybody. Thanks.